just became the Super Cup champions. That was an insane game, and not many of us would have thought that it would have ended that way. And there is so much to talk and so much to discuss about that. But Barca really needed a win, a trophy after a long time, and hopefully this gives a lot of impetus and it gives a lot of confidence for the rest of the season, whether it pertains to La Liga or whether it pertains to the Champions League. But lots of things to discuss. Dom, how do you feel?
I feel incredible, Dev. And you know what? I was gonna come here and say and ask the question: how important is the Super Cup? Right, this Super Cup is being played away from home, so it's not in Spain even, and everyone's saying, okay, this is a Mickey Mouse trophy, and yada yada yada. But you know what? I've been thinking about this for good, I don't know, maybe half an hour now. And I think we have a squad full of children, like boys, right? We have a fresh coach. We are in a season that's been, I don't know what to call the season, but it's been rough both on and off the pitch. And I think wherever you are in the world, whatever you do, whatever you think of this trophy, you have every right to celebrate this as much as you want, because
Yeah.
these boys need it, right? This team needs it. We need it because it's not much, right? It's not as a trophy, like a physical trophy. It's not worth much. As far as silver goes, this is not much. But the mental boost and just being able to win something for these boys might mean the world. So whatever you are, if Real Madrid fans tell you this is not a trophy, just let them talk. Right? Let them talk because this is ours. It's our night. We have earned it because our team was the better team. Head and like it was a huge distance between us and Madrid tonight. And I think this is the result that we deserve. Actually, there we go.
Absolutely. No question about that. I think, especially for you have to take everything into context. Like given Barca's history in the recent past, given Barca's season, our challenges with finance, money, the ridicule,
Mhm.
the controversies, the registration, so many issues that Barca are going through and will be going through for a while. It's not going to go away tomorrow. Um, the fact that it's a really a cobbled up team. Nobody thought that this team would perform this way when the season started. But Hansi Flick got them going into something, and that has also not been smooth sailing. Like the last 8 or 9 games in the league haven't been that good. We are down from number
Mhm.
one to number three. We may not, we may not get the momentum back in the league. But all that said and done,
Mhm.
the league gets decided or Champions League gets decided in the second half of the season, and there's
Yeah.
no better way of starting the second half of the season than with a trophy, than with
Yeah.
defeating Madrid for confidence. So I think yes, the trophy will mean a lot to the team, to the president, to the players. One never knows about discussions. Today, Araujo was amazing,
Yeah.
and
It was.
maybe that's another discussion because we've been hearing about him wanting to leave and so on. But he was so good in that defense today. Showed the difference
Mhm.
why he's a great defender. There's no question about that. So yeah, lots of good things to talk about.
Absolutely, and we should talk about the good things. I mean, there's always bad things, guys. But as you know, we like to talk about both, but we will focus on the good things because there were a lot of good things, and I'm happy because this win does not come from a lucky shot in the last minute. This win comes after a dominant performance throughout the game. Unfortunately, this red card, I think that's basically the only bad thing I would say about this game is it goes back to the Monaco game, right? When Eric Garcia got that red card, is it better to just let the opposition have a shot and maybe you can see it? Yeah, maybe you can see the goal. Doesn't matter, but you stay with 11 men on the pitch. So maybe that is the something that we should
Same thing
actually
with
discuss.
PSG and Araujo last year. I mean,
Exactly. So,
there would
so
have been
would
one
you
goal.
rather, yeah, would you rather have 10 men on the pitch for, I don't know, 40 minutes of the game, or would you just concede that goal, especially when you have a cushion of 4 goals, right? That was my big thing. We had a cushion of 4 goals. You can actually, there's not many times in world football that you can actually allow yourself the leisure of actually conceding a goal to Real Madrid because you have a cushion of 4 goals. That doesn't really happen. But we had that leisure tonight, and I think we should have used it. But let's not dwell on that because it is what it is. Um, and the overall play, the first half was mesmer. It was brilliant, right? It was exactly what we needed.
It
And
was brilliant.
and and yeah, yeah. Flick is pretty good in finals. Yeah, that's a.
That's true. And again, if you think about it, like a couple of things that and then maybe it is true, maybe not true, but the way we controlled the game after going 10 down, I think was much better than the last two times. So
Mhm.
for me, it was like we have learned something. The way from from almost 55th or 60th minute till about 40 minutes, we played with 10 men. Um,
Hmm.
I think it was a lot more compact in defense. It was a lot more Barca being circumspect, Flick not being Flick and
Yeah.
like, going all in.
Hmm.
It literally, nullified all the attempts that Real Madrid was making,
Yeah.
and there's something that he has learned from that. If you also look at how he's controlled the game or the high line on everything, there are things that Flick is picking up. There are things that Flick is improving little by little out there. Though there's some positivity up there as well.
There is absolutely, and I think that's a good point because when we went a man down, I kept thinking, okay, is Flick going to persist with his, Russian roulette kind of thing? Is he going to go with the high line, be very aggressive in the press, and still, risk that with a man down? But no, he was much more conservative. He was much more deeper structured. And one other thing that I liked when we went man down, we still played to our strengths because
Thanks.
when we had Dani Olmo or when we had Pedri and Castro on the ball, we did not rush play. Pedri was always waving, okay, slow down, and we slowed down. We did play around them. Even with a man down, we could dance around their midfield and retain possession. Now, it didn't always work out because we lost a couple of balls here and there, and the attacks were not really as lethal. But that's normal because you have a man down. But still, you play to your strengths. You retain the ball and you slow down the tempo. You suffocate their momentum because Madrid had all the momentum in the second half, all of it. They had a red card for the opposition. They had a free kick scored, and they were just going at it. Right, everything was back in their hands. Well, not entirely because they were still 3 goals down, but you get the point. And Barca's task was to nullify or to snuff out the momentum, and they did so
And they did that very
fantastically.
well.
Yeah,
Very
yeah,
well.
exactly,
I
exactly.
think there's credit to where because I've criticized Click on his game management earlier.
Yeah, we
So I
both
think
have. Yeah.
credit
Hmm.
where it's due. I think today they managed it very well, given the team, given the circumstance, and so on. And yes, Stanley, to your point, I think yeah, Pena does not concede that penalty, but Szczesny wouldn't have conceded the goal. But that's just what how football is. Um, uh, it will be interesting to see what happens in the goalkeeping situation going forward, given that
Hmm.
Szczesny has actually played pretty well in the games that he has played. um, you can see that there is a momentum towards using him more and more. So we'll have to see how that goes in the next part of the season of the Champions League game. I think Pina will still be the league goalkeeper. I still think so, but
Yeah.
it'll be interesting to see what happens on the goalkeeping side for the rest of the season. But okay, there's so much to talk about. Let's start with the goals. Let's start with the game. What do you want to start with, Tom?
We can start with the goals. For the first goal, when
Oh
we
my
conceded
God!
that goal, yeah, I mean, I was like, okay, that's classic Flick goal to concede because that's what it was. You lose the ball to a counter attack. Oh, first you miss a couple of sitters. That's what we always do, right? We miss a couple of clear cut chances, and then
Three
we let,
chances in the first
yeah,
10
yeah,
minutes.
three chances, and then we let the opposition have their own chance. And they, of course, they scored the goal. It was a good goal. There's no question about that. But still, I think it was a fragile way to concede because we did not have the rest defense. We had a 2 versus 2 in the back line in open spaces, right? Against Vinny and against Mbappe, and you don't want to be in that situation
That's
ever. And Vinny did a great job of just dragging the other player away, and that kind of isolates Mbappe against Balde and the rest. What happened in the rest, but we did really well to bounce back after that
oh yeah,
because we are a momentum team, and I thought, okay, now we conceded the goal. How do we respond, right? And our response was just keep going.
outstanding.
Yeah, yeah, just yeah, outstanding. It was outstanding because
That
just
goal was just outstanding. It's like probably the
it
best goal.
was.
Probably the
Yeah,
best.
from Lamine, yeah, he just tiptoes. I tweeted earlier that he just tiptoes around defenders because when he runs, even in full stride,
Yeah,
I don't feel like he's stomping the ground. I feel like he's just tiptoeing on the field, and he's still very fast, and he still can dance around you, but he's doing it so light on his feet, so subtly. I don't want to say it's like Messi, but it is like Messi,
it
right?
was
So
very.
it's
That goal was Messi. That goal was
I,
that's the closest Messi goal that Lamine has
I,
scored in his
I
career.
know,
I think, that
I
we have
know.
seen. And it was just the cutback on the left, and he keeps going left and left, and then the
Uh,
acute angle, and he almost passed the
mhm,
ball. There was no shot. There
yeah.
was no.
Mhm.
He just passed the ball into that, and passing the ball into the net with a goalkeeper like Courtois is not. It's not easy. It's very very difficult.
Mm,
So I
mm.
think that first goal, the space that he made, the pass, the shimmy, the thing that we were used to seeing Messi doing all the time. It was
Yeah,
a phenomenal goal. It was one of the best goals that I've seen from Lamine. And yeah, that really changed the momentum at that time. That one goal completely, brought us back on level, gave confidence back to the team, and then they just, optimized on that, and then they ran on it.
Exactly, and there's two things that you mentioned there. I want just want to touch upon Courtois being the differential player for Real Madrid. It means so much,
Yeah.
right? To have that kind of a presence between the sticks, it's amazing. And to score 5 goals against Courtois is never easy. So that's again full credit to Barca again. But yes, having that someone, and this is what we could talk about Pena if you want as well, because I think Pena should remain the goalkeeper in La Liga, because I think he's still hasn't shown any glaring mishaps or any mistakes. Even that save, no, that free kick was maybe he could have done a bit more. But then that 93rd or 4th minute save against Mbappe's
Uh,
shot, that was
it was
amazing.
outstanding.
That had we conceded that goal and go 5-3 with, I don't know, 10 minutes more to play, I don't know what would have happened, right? So that was a potentially a game saving save.
Yeah.
So I would say
And he
that's
has made some of them in
yeah.
the previous matches as well. So, yeah, to your
Mhm.
point, I think Pena should stay. But I think in the
Mhm.
cup matches, I think we're going to see Chesney more and more. Uh,
It's fine. It's fine. It reminds you of the Bravo Ter Stegen dynamic that we had. What almost 10 years ago. When was that? Yeah, when Ter Stegen played in the cups, Bravo played in La Liga, and that worked well because we won the Champions League. I think that year when
that
we
year, yeah,
had that cup. Yeah.
that was a combination. Yep, you're
hmm
absolutely right. So yeah,
hmm
that the first goal was insane, like outstanding, probably the best goal from Lamine Yamal that we have seen.
Yeah.
And he scored quite a few ones. The second goal from Lewandowski, the penalty, was also quite sublime. And if you look at
It was.
the positioning, the way he struck the ball, Courtois guessed right, but still the power, the placement was inch perfect. And overall, I think let's talk about Lewandowski because we
hmm
often criticize him, but today I think he played an inch perfect game
hmm
throughout, not just in just being the man in the middle, but also the hold up play, even shithousery at the end, just managing game state, all of that stuff. I think Lewandowski
uh-huh.
played a completely solid game, 10 on 10.
Yeah, he's one of those players. Like he was in constant duels because we look for him as a kind of a back to goal player, but he kind of avoids duels in the sense that he orients himself around the ball and tries to always look, okay, how can I lay this ball off to a nearby teammate as quickly and as efficiently as possible. Now he's not always the best at this, but the way he thinks about these duels is impressive to me. And today, as you said, it was a great game by Lewandowski, and the penalty, I think there was no chance that that penalty was getting saved. It was just perfectly struck. And that's, credit where it's due. Lewandowski had a great game. Although, if when it came to making subs, I still would have taken him off instead of, I don't know, maybe Lamine, because, when you go a man down and you take off your outlet and you take off Gavi, I can
Yeah, that
understand
worried me. That
Gavi.
worried me. I mean, I was worried that did he
Yeah.
make the right calls, but obviously he stuck by his guns and he did it.
I
And
mean,
generally doesn't
yeah.
sub Lewa off, so I don't know. But yeah, I mean that
Yeah,
with it.
it was a bit weird because when you have 10 men and you're expecting to be deep inside your half, what does a Lewandowski do in that situation, right? To me, he doesn't add much. Sure, he can be lethal in the box, but when are you actually getting him into those situations when you're in this scenario? You're not that much. Whereas Lamine, I know he's very young. You want to rotate him as much as possible. You have a 3 goal cushion, so that's the explanation potentially. But still, he is one of your 2 outlets that you have, and one of the only players that can get you up the pitch, even if in a deficit, even in a numerical inferiority, right? So to me, that was a weird call, but luckily for us, it worked out. And also Gavi, again, I get it because Gavi is still fresh. He's still trying to get into this rhythm, and he is getting back, but still, maybe he wanted to just preserve him a little bit. I can understand that, but still, taking him off and Lamine off at the same time, it worried me as well. As you said, it kind of made me a bit nervous. But yes, luckily it worked out. Okay,
People are
let's
not
yeah.
forgetting Pedri's masterclass. Pedri was outstanding, sublime. I think this is the role Pedri plays best. If you give him a little bit of control, if you play him from the
Yeah.
deep and allow him to control the game, so
Mhm.
that where the ball actually stays in the midfield, I think that's the best play for Pedri, and he has been doing that
Mhm.
consistently this season. He's not been injured. He's shown up almost on every single game day, and he has played some really good games out there. So today, yeah, Pedri was absolutely flawless. The whole team was flawless. You don't win 5-2 against Madrid in a final if you're not playing well. So there's no question about that. But yeah, we're not forgetting Pedri at all, but we're just focusing on some of the goals that happened, and then we'll obviously go into the smaller stories around all the individual players that there are.
Yeah, I mean that's what Pedri does. You said it. You need him to influence every stage of play, every phase of play, and that's what he does. Because you can see him deep, you can see him in the middle third, you can see him even in the final third because he does get up there when he deems it necessary. But to me, it's always about the intent and how he instructs the team. I already said it. He was waving his arms like slow down, and I caught that a couple of times through the game, and that to me that's the best thing about him because he understands the game state. He understands what Barca need to do to actually have a favorable game state, and he obviously contributes to getting us into that game state. So to me, that's the best thing about Pedri. And yes, we can talk about his mesmerizing even passes and movements and his body control and all of that, but everyone knows that. And all he needed to kind of solidify this was consistency. As I said, he needed a full season where he's fit, and we're only halfway through. But so far, he's been doing really really well, and long may it continue. That's the only thing I can add here.
Absolutely.
Um,
Okay, let's come to the third goal, and that was also a bolt from the blue. I never really thought that goal would happen. If you like, just
mm,
I mean, the state that it was in, but that header, but that positioning, everything, it just happened in a second, and quite interesting. And Rafinha had another game, like outstanding game throughout.
yeah,
Really made life very difficult for Madrid throughout the. And today his finishing was on, so it was much more lethal. Unfortunately, he
yeah.
got a little bit of cramps at the end. But again, Rafinha is one of those players who have become so synonymous with this team, who have become
Hmm.
synonymous with the success of this team, the
Yeah.
youngsters, and the face of this team. And honestly, like, and I don't know whether this is too much, but if he continues like this throughout the season, Dom, and Barca
Hmm.
actually win either the league or the CL, because with Flick you can actually win the CL because his
Hmm.
team plays like that. He's a coupling team. They
Yeah.
might not be consistent, but on their day they can literally defeat anybody, and
Yeah.
pretty like convincingly. So if that happens, is it very weird to think that Rafinha's name would also come up in Ballon d'Or conversations in the next year?
Uh, um, Maybe on merit, yes, but you have to remember that Ballon d'Or is not about merit and quality alone. If it was, Messi would win it every single year, like 10 years back, right? But he doesn't. He didn't because football is about stories and PR and all that. And Rafinha has a decent story. He has. I think he does have a decent story, but I don't think his name pops up as much, despite all that he does. I don't think he just is. It's not there in the media as much.
As
To
much, but this season,
yeah,
don't you think that shift is slowly starting to happen,
I
becoming
don't,
the main man?
s- see again. I think he is one of the main men of Barcelona. I think on merit he would potentially earn it in that sense. On quality and merit and what he contributes to the team, yes. But I just don't see Rafinha's PR exploding to the extent that he would actually be considered.
Possibly, yeah.
Now, I would add unfairly so in that sense because he would earn it, but then he would not have the PR to back him up, which you need for Ballon d'Or. You need PR. You need PR. You need a narrative, a story, something that will push you even beyond the stats, beyond the goals, beyond whatever you want. And Rafinha has the quality, he has the contributions. Now, will he have the PR? I don't know.
Will Lamine have
Maybe Lamine. Yeah, I think so. I think
it?
so.
Not
I
in
think
this season. I think Lamine still needs a couple of more seasons to get there, but I think yeah.
yeah,
Um, that'll
but
be
his PR is stronger than Rafinha's
Yeah,
PR.
I
Look,
think yeah, no questions on that.
like
He's
yeah,
got
yeah.
all around him, so his
Everyone is talking yeah about Lamine and yeah, it's a bit different, but yeah. And there's a whole story about him, being so young, being La Masia, all that
all of that.
comparisons to Messi, leading Barcelona out of a slump. There's a huge narrative there. So if Barca wins something, I wouldn't be surprised if Lamine's name was actually very very high up the list. But yeah, we'll talk about that when actually if it happens
All right.
in
So
the
was
end.
Real so bad or Barca so good? I don't know. Was Real bad? Yeah, they were not that good. They could have been better for sure.
Mhm,
But does need to be one? Does one need to be bad for the other to be good? Maybe they're both playing
mhm.
well, and one just won. And but yeah, I think the second game running, Flick got the better of Ancelotti.
Hmm.
and with a huge margin. So obviously, there's something about the Real Madrid defense that needs to be looked into when they're playing this Barca or fixed Barca, because they've struggled both times. So that obviously sits with Ancelotti. I'm not a coach, so I won't comment on his behalf. But 9 goals in 2 games is a heavy margin
Yeah.
for any coach to accept, especially for a team as good and as elite as Real Madrid.
Hmm.
I don't think they created that much, even in
No.
this game. The first half, yes, but the second half they were completely controlled and kept into a leash. So I think, yeah, there are obviously Madrid can do better, should do better, and their fans would have expected them to do better. But today, the Barca were just inch perfect.
Yeah, they were. I think it's a bit of both, as you said. I think Barca were very, very good. They played exactly the way they should have played, but also Real Madrid are bad. They are quite bad. They don't have much defensive organization at all, and then in attack they don't have any structures at all, right? Because Ancelotti himself, he said that multiple times. I don't give them instructions how to attack, because he believes that that's what the players should do themselves, right? And that's how you get this highly individualistic team that can produce they can produce goals on quality alone, but not through cohesion and tactical play, so to speak. And then when you center your team on defense alone, so block like channel defending and then counter attacks, which Madrid do. That's the only thing they do: defending the channels and then hitting you on the counter attack. That's what they do. But you don't have quality defenders to rely upon because they don't. They had Vasquez on the right. They had Tchouaméni, Camavinga, who are mentally they were not in the game, right? They were just not there.
He hasn't been for a while.
Yeah, that's true. I think they're having issues on an individual level in defense, and then they're having structural issues in attack. That's my very rough, very quick analysis of Real Madrid, and that's how you get into this position where your attack can win you games on their day when when their individualism kind of shines, but then their defense is what's very worrying, especially when you go against this Barca side that can actually demolish you if you give them space, and they gave us so much
Space.
space between the lines, out of structure, out wide. We were receiving the ball and playing through them whichever way we wanted.
With
With
ease.
ease, absolutely with ease. And Madrid, even though they could try and do that to us, they have the technical quality of Jude, they have the technical quality of Tchouaméni and Camavinga. They never tried this. They just hoof the ball forward and hope that Mbappe and Vinicius will do something. And sometimes that will work. Sure, that it will, because they have their own dark magic and whatnot. But when you're facing a team that has these tools to hurt you, like Barca do, it's this happens, right? This happens, and so I think it's a bit of both. But Barca are very good, and Real Madrid just they lack things. They have the superstar names, but they lack everything else.
Let's talk about Mbappe again. I mean, it's not that he was bad today. He scored the goal,
Mhm.
was dangerous, but again,
It was.
and I would never imagine that I would say this, but the sight of Mbappe running in that PSG t-shirt compared to the sight of Mbappe running in the Real Madrid shirt are not the same thing. He was far more effective and dangerous when he was playing for Madrid and for PSG. And yes, we have all
Mhm.
discussed, the position, the just the combination of teams and how the player needs to fit in, and
Mm.
is really not still probably fit into Madrid. But where does it go from here? Do you see him sticking around, or do you see changes in Madrid in terms of personnel? Because for a player of that caliber, that price, that cost, that PR, all of that, right? I don't see him taking like this position.
Yeah, he's not taking a back seat for Vinicius or Jude or anyone. Yeah, that's a good point. I don't know. I would say that he stays as this flagship signing, but then one of these three players I've mentioned, so Jude, Vinny, and Mbappe, one of them won't be in Madrid
Yeah,
in the
what
next.
happens? Like, because they're not obviously gelling together along with Rodrigo. They're not. It's not hitting it off. That's not happening. So
Mhm.
what does Flo Perez do, or
Uh,
what does Ancelotti do?
hmm. They have so many other gaping holes. Both fullbacks area positions need to be strengthened. They since the departure of Cruz and then obviously Modric having this a bit of a rotational role because of his age, you're losing a lot of quality in there, right? And the drop off from that to having Valverde and Tchouaméni and Camavinga and I don't know who in that midfield is massive. And then having Vasquez and then whoever it is on the left is either Mendy or I don't know Camavinga, it's not enough, right? And then what you're doing is you have a very shaky defense, and you still play four attackers, so Rodrigo, Vinicius, Jude, and Mbappe up top, and you don't have a defensive structure with that team, right? You have too many attackers with a fragile defense, and that's a recipe for disaster for me. So theoretically, you can remove Rodrigo, put I don't know someone who's more stable, someone who's more of a defensively oriented potentially, and then have Vinny, Jude, and Mbappe be enough in that attack. Now the issue again is that they don't have a structured attack. They don't have a plan or a cohesive unit. They have a bunch of big players, like good players, and that's it. And Barca are the best example of that not being enough if the fit is not right, if the structure is not there. So there's a lot of issues there, and I think one of those three is likely to leave in the next 2 or 3 years. That would be my guess, especially if this continues, and it might continue because the solutions to this are not easy,
Easy.
nor can be done quickly. So
It's
it's
very
a
hard
tough
to solve
situation.
this problem, but again, you've got three so-called very heavyweight names out there who all
Mhm,
can completely change the game on the head. But I don't think they're going to share the stage equally, consistently again and again. And right
mhm,
now, the chemistry is just not there within them yet. And it's been almost 6 to 7 months of the season that have happened. Whatever.
mhm.
Um, so it'll be interesting to see what Madrid do there. But let's talk about Vinicius as well today. How did you find him? Didn't seem that influential today. Was it because of Araujo? Was it because he wasn't as influential, or something else?
I don't think it was Araujo's during. I mean, Araujo was really good with him on. He was really present in the box. He was tracking runners quite well, and I think he was decent, more than decent. But Vinny not being effective is just more due to the fact that he wasn't getting into those positions in the first place. So Real Madrid just couldn't find them in the situations that he would love to be in. Mbappe had a couple. Mbappe
Yeah.
had a couple of situations where he was 1 versus 1 and he could do damage from there. Vinny, not so much. He was receiving the ball in weird situations, and that goes back to the same thing we've been talking about. That's Real Madrid not having a plan on how to access them. All they do is hoof the long ball into them and hope they do something, but it matters how you get there, in what manner you get there, and in what position they actually receive the ball. So I feel like Vinicius never really got the chance to be influential unless he was pulling something out of the hat, right? Something out of nothing. And that's very difficult when you have a team that's pounding you 4 or 5-1, and you're in the back foot. Your psychological state is all over the place, and I don't think it was an easy game to play from Real Madrid by any means. But Vinny's ineffectiveness was also partly due to them not having a plan on how to actually optimize him or get him into those good situations in the first place.
Yeah, I would probably say so. And then finally, with Bellingham, I think he was the least influential today. I think of all the classicals that I've seen Bellingham in, I think this one and the last one, I think he just
Mhm.
wasn't present in the races. Any thoughts on as to why? Because Ancelotti has adjusted the team and the makeup so that Bellingham is more involved after the initial part of the season. But today, neither Valverde nor Bellingham were that much involved throughout the process.
Yeah, it was difficult for them to do anything because just couldn't have the balls. That's the first thing, and that's partly again because Ancelotti still doesn't want Jude to be deeper player who can influence the build up as well. Although he can and should do that because Madrid have the tools to play through Barcelona. So many teams this season alone in the league have done so. They play through our press. They find ways to exploit our deficiency in terms of runners and cover ground coverage. And Madrid have the tools to do so, but they either choose not. I don't know why, because they have the tools, but they're not doing it. I can't say this is why they're not doing it because they should be doing it. And that's that's one of the reasons why Judy's not involved, because he's not been tasked to be involved as much. Instead, he is a very attacking player by nature. He can be a goal scorer. He is a goal scorer. But when you're in this situation, when you can't really get the hold of the ball and you can't really get your players into positions to influence the game, you have to make tweaks. And this is the same thing that we were talking about when we talked about Olmo. We said he's a moments player because his role put him in a position where he can only touch the ball a couple times a game, and maybe he does something good with it, maybe he doesn't. But it's a very ungrateful position to be in because it turns him into this moments player who doesn't really influence the rest of the game or the phase of the game. The same goes to Bellingham, I feel, where he's very pigeonholed into this very advanced role where you're hoping that he will somehow find a magical moment to score a goal out of nowhere, and that's the only egg in your basket with a player that can actually do everything. Bellingham can do everything, but you're having him do the very minimum. That's my vision of that. Maybe I'm not watching him enough to say this is absolutely what's the problem. The problem is, but from what I've seen, it definitely is a part, at least a part of it.
Yeah, possibly. And it'll be interesting how Ancelotti solves for this, because two Clasico defeats is not something that will be taken lightly in Real
Yeah.
Madrid. They won't take this lightly at all. And rightfully so, they're an elite team. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. And their season isn't going that well. I mean, yes, they are there at the top, but you haven't that aura of inevitability that you've always seen or associate with Real Madrid. That hasn't been there, so it'll be interesting to watch out. Okay, so Araujo, there's a question. Araujo was solid today, but do you think Barca will let go of him? I don't think there's a question of Barca wanting to let go. I don't think Barca want to let go of him. I think Barca don't want to pay him as much as he's wanting. That's basically what it is. It's about salary and money and so on and so forth. And if Araujo wants to leave, you can't really stop him. And what the understanding is that he does want to. Nobody's forcing him out. Probably people are forcing him not to get as much as he wants. That may be a possibility. But with given Barca's financial situation, yes, that is normal. I mean, a lot of players will not get what they want. It's just the reality of the club. Now, that said, would I keep Araujo? I would keep Araujo every day of the week. Every day of the week. He's an outstanding defender. Yes, he's injury prone. Yes, he might not be present at times, but you need him on those days that when he's on the pitch, he's an absolute guarantee for you. And he has those skill sets of a defender in terms of tracking back the high line, the physicality. I think those are needed, and he's a leader on the pitch. He's a leader on the pitch. So you don't really let go of them. So for me, I would keep him every single day of the week. But I'm not Laporta and I'm not Deco and I don't have the money, so I don't make decisions per se.
Yeah.
It also depends on his relationship with the team, with Hansi Flick and so on, so forth, which we don't know because he's hardly played under Hansi Flick. He was always injured. The relationship that he had with Xavi definitely is not there. There are new players who have come up, Cubarsí and Inigo Martinez. Cubarsí is not going anywhere because he is that core Catalan narrative is so good with him, so he's not going anywhere. So there's question of prominence and importance in the team. There are so many things that have happened, right? So yeah, I mean, it's difficult. So would I let him go? No, 100%. I mean, he was amazing, and I would keep him. I would absolutely keep him this season, next season, and the season after. But the reality is not in our hand. That's as simple as it is. That said, though, what worries me is his choice of Juventus. There are better teams out there who will happily take him. Juventus is sixth in in Serie A, right? And they have a great coach in Motta, so I'm not denying that. But why would you go to Juventus when Bayern wants you? When any number of Premier League clubs will want you, it just doesn't make sense to me. That the choice of his destination. But that said, Dom, your thoughts?
Yeah, same here. I mean, him going to Juve would be, in my mind, still very unlikely because once the word spreads that he wants to go, and according to some reports, he does
It
want to
has.
go. Fernando Polo tweeted that he is very adamant on leaving. I'm not sure how reliable he is, Polo, at this point, because he's been I don't know, just shaky with his reports lately. But if that is true and he wants to go, and once other teams actually hear, okay, he's actually on the market, then I would assume that more offers will come and he will get to pick where he goes, which rightfully so, because he is, as you say, an elite defender, and he was really good. He was solid
Precisely.
today, more than solid. He really, once he came in, it was you could feel the security, a lot more, and that says a lot. And for him to come from an injury and play this well and this consistently well, like throughout the whole game and two games for that matter for now, I think it's a very good sign. And of course, the injury history is there, and that's a concern because he might break every once in a while. But even with that said, you could still, if he recovers in reasonable time, and he can actually shrug off these injuries. I mean, you would still bank on him because he is that good, right? So as Dev said, I don't really have much much else to add to
Yeah,
that. I
yeah,
don't.
it's just that like we would love to keep. I would love to keep him, and I think as good as Kubarsi and Inigo Martinez have been, I think there are games where you need defenders of the like of Araujo,
Yeah.
and he'll always be a leader. He'll always give you that extra security, and so for that, Barca need to keep him if Barca is serious. But I don't know about what's happening behind the scenes. So there's a lot that goes on. We don't know half of it. So what's driving his wish, or whether he would or not, we'll get to know. Hopefully, if he goes, he gets a good transfer money because the team needs players. Which they can use that money for balancing out or what have you. So that'll be good. And that
Yeah.
brings us to the next point. I think Van Lee said that if we add Marcus Rashford to this team, we would be scoring 10 goals every game. And yeah, I think that's a possibility if we are playing this open in every game, because the runs that Rafinha and Rashford would be making, the third man or the second man runs or what have you, I think those are going to be a handful for any team, and they're fast players. And with their
Mhm.
system, which is counter, pressing, there'll be a lot of chances that'll be created. So yeah, I mean, a Rashford in the right position, in the right team, in the right
Yeah.
dimension might
Mhm.
be insanely difficult in the second half of the season if he comes in, but we don't know whether he's coming or not. We will get to know now that they have won the cup. I'm
Mhm.
sure focus will shift into transfers. The
Yep.
focus will shift into who comes in, who goes, and so on. So there'll be a lot of debate and discussion and so on and so forth that will happen in the next couple of weeks. So we'll get to know. But yeah, um, interesting weeks coming up for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And with Rashford, it's all about the wages, right? He's on some insane wages because
300,
he
I think.
yeah,
Yeah.
three, yeah, 300 something, which is insane because he plays in the Premier League, and that's where the money is, obviously. But if he can somehow get United to pay most of that, all of that, a chunk of that, I don't know, and then he comes in on a 6 month loan, I think it's a no brainer for me. It's a huge win-win for us, because I would imagine he would have this burning desire to prove himself, and that kind of Marcus Rashford is just he's game breaking, right? His ability, like pure ability, is game breaking, and that's what I love about him because when he gets into that stride, he's something like a Leao, right? You don't stop him when he once he gets going, and he has insane ball striking. He has good movement inside the box as well. He can carry you up the pitch from your half to the opposition's half, no problem at all. And in open spaces, in open warfare, as they've said, he does fit Barca's tactics to a T. So I think if that happens and we get him on a favorable deal, that will be massive for us. And I think it would be a big boost until the end of the season because he gives you some rotation options as well. Because we can't play Lamine and Rafinha for the whole season without, yeah, always without someone breaking at some point. And usually those breaks happen in the most crucial parts of the season when we don't
And
want them
then
to
we lose four
happen.
five games. So,
Exactly, and we don't have the squad depth anyway to compensate for that. And even if we did, we don't have the quality in that depth to actually replace Rafinha and Lamine straight out like for like. So I think having Rashford in that kind of scenario in that story would be massive for us, and I would accept him with open arms. The only two things with Rashford as the mentality, so he's a bit on and off. He's more like if I feel like playing, I'm the best in the world. But if I don't feel like playing, I'm just not going to play. So that's Rashford for you. And then the defensive side of things is can Flick actually mold Rashford to be a good defender or a willing defender, or do you give Rashford one of those roles where he can just walk and not run as much. So that's the question to answer for Flick, because it would not be just as easy as putting Rashford in the team and he wins you every game. No, we have to somehow make sure that he's always in that mind state that he actually has to play and compete and be the best that he can be every single game. If you can do that, somehow you have a Ballon d'Or player. I'm exaggerating a bit, but you have a very, very elite player on your hands. But that's not easy to do.
Yeah,
So
it isn't. But that said, I think we've been going in for a while, so let's try to wrap this all up.
yeah,
First trophy for Flick, which is great. I mean, he's brought a lot of happiness for Barca fans. However you want to look at him, if you want to criticize his game style or whatever that may be, nobody's perfect, but he deserves a thank you from all us Barca fans, because more than anything, I think the excitement is back. We are winning games 5-2, 4. We score a lot. It's exciting. It's not boring. It's fun to watch Barca again, and that's credit to him, and the fact that this is the first trophy of his tenure, and he has done it mostly without a lot. Like he took the hand that was given to him, hasn't really complained about too many things, hasn't got that many players new that were specifically brought for him, so he rolled with the punches. And the fact that he has got the first trophy, congratulations, Heflik, is what we will say. And maybe may this be first of many with
yeah,
Barca. Now we don't know what the rest of the, but I think given our style of play, we always will can fancy a Copa del Rey this season. League, we don't know. If Barca go on a good run, they can win the league, but they have to go
mm,
on a good run now. We will get to see that. And Champions League is just Russian roulette. We don't know. We don't know. It can
yeah,
go anyway, but this team can compete in the Champions League. They're just built in that manner, and they
yeah,
can beat anyone. And so, so it's just things like that, right? So, um, everything's up to play in the season. I think the win and the trophy will give a lot of confidence. We saw that with Xavi as well. When Xavi's team won the Super Cup and then they went to win the league, the team had a lot of confidence after a
mhm,
win like this, and then they came together and there was a good run that they put in. So if Barca put in a good run with the team that they have, there's every single chance that they can win the league too. So it can be an amazing season or it can be a middling season, but at least Hansi Flick has got his first trophy in the Barcelona era. Barca won't go trophyless this season, and that
yeah.
to a good win against a good opponent. So it was good, and we'll obviously be back with the league as soon as it's back on track, and we will be tracking the games there, and we'll look forward to Champions League when it starts again. But Dom, any final thoughts before we wrap this up?
Yeah, just celebrate this win because it means a lot to the fans, obviously, but it means a lot to the players because they're just a bunch of kids and they don't most of them don't know what it's like to win the trophy, right? With a trophy for the senior team, no less, against Real Madrid after thrashing them 5-2. I think this is a feeling they won't forget. This is a feeling they will carry into the rest of the season, as you said, Div. So I would say the same to you. I mean, whatever Madrid fans tell you, whatever other people tell you that this is not a real trophy, yada yada yada,
Yes.
just ignore it because this win we've earned it. We played so well to get to this point and win the trophy, and it's a real thing, and it means a lot to the boys. So I think we should just celebrate it. And on the La Liga and Champions League is, yeah, I do agree with you. I think we have the squad quality to actually kind of just brute force our way through La Liga and challenge for La Liga. We don't have the depth for
No
it,
doubt.
right? So that's the main point. In the Champions League, we have the tactics, we have this temperamental game state control. That means, as you said, that we can win against anyone in the world on our day. But that also makes us inconsistent and makes us vulnerable. So in both cases, you have the tools, but you have clear weaknesses that can impede that progress. So this season can it's very difficult to predict because we have the tools to win the treble, but we also could potentially win nothing apart from the Super Cup. So one more reason to actually cherish this cup because you never know what will
You never
happen. But
know. Yeah.
yeah,
And it's
but
interesting as a team as well because it's so
mhm,
it's unpredictable with Barca and Hansi Flick right
yeah,
now with the team. So we don't know what will happen, but for sure it'll be interesting. There'll be a lot more games in which we'll win with 5-6 goals. Lots of goals will be scored. I think so. There's a lot more fun out there, which is the most important part of football. I think after all the tactics and everything everything that has happened. We watch the game for entertainment, and I'm sure
Mhm.
there'll be a lot more entertainment in the season to come before. So we'll be there. I'm sure you guys will be there. So we'll catch up again. Until then, enjoy this victory. We are going to, let's say, stay. And until we meet next time.